I've become fascinated with old business signage in my city. To me, these classic signs represent a time when designers made the right choices. Now, this time period, the middle of the 20th century, with maybe a decade or two on either side, is a personal area of obsession for me. It started with my love for local mid-century architecture. Compulsively researching Saskatoon-based architecture firms and their work from the 1950s and beyond became a favorite hobby of mine. The next phase of my activation happened while on my honeymoon in 2019, when my wife and I embarked on a mind-expanding trip to Dessau, Germany to visit the Bauhaus. The Bauhaus school and philosophy is considered one of the most influential movements on the birth of modernist design and architecture. It was truly a remarkable experience. With this deeper understanding of modernism, my appreciation for classic design was at an all-time high. Which brings us back to vintage building signage and my newest fascination, old apartment signs. There's a simplicity to these designs. The ones I like are usually quite subtle, but incredibly stylish. Here's a beautifully hand-painted sign. It perfectly suits the minimal apartment exterior. Some are playful, some enhance the physical character of the building. The thrill of discovering an old apartment logo is amplified when compared to the modern equivalent. At some point, things started to change. We gradually moved away from this rather elegant style to much more clunky visuals. Modern building logos are often too complicated, too fussy, or completely uninspired. The dramatic shift from these beautiful signs to whatever you call this is remarkable. I thought this sign was cracking, but on closer inspection, yes, those white lines are part of the design. Even at my local shopping center, I'm reminded of the banality of modern design. I much prefer the clever tree icon from the old sign. Simple, thoughtful, and clearly made with care. This comparison of old and modern signage got me thinking about other old logos and how they seem to be almost always great, but much harder to find still in use. Why redesign a logo that already works so well? Are these modern updates just inevitable? I do know that watching a great logo slowly disappear is depressing. The pain of which is only compounded when the replacement is particularly unremarkable. So what is it about old logos that is so fascinating to me? Part of it might be my appreciation for the skill it once took to design them. Pencil on paper, by hand, from a highly trained craftsperson. Pre-digital, no shortcuts. Or maybe it's just that almost all old logos are great. They represented a business or a place with a simplicity that's much harder to find today. So, when a logo does survive after decades of use, I take note. And recently, I started to pay closer attention to one specific logo in Saskatoon, and it's been used for over 45 years. The more I looked, the more I saw it. It's everywhere, but often hidden in plain sight. The logo is never used as the center of attention, never showy, strictly utilitarian. The Meewasin Valley Authority logo. And this logo ticks all the boxes of my personal good design criteria. Simple, effective, and open to interpretation. On the surface, the logo is used to represent the conservation zone of the South Saskatchewan River Valley and all its amenities. Parks, trails, utilities, just a symbol. But how does a simple symbol like this stand the test of time? Remain unchanged after decades of use? It at least means the organization is still around, but there must be more to it. Why not redesign it? Why hasn't it been given the dreaded modern design upgrade almost all logos get? Also intriguing to me is the mysteriousness of the logo. I've never heard people talk about it, and I've especially never heard people talk about who designed it. I've personally always associated this river current icon with the Meewasin Trail. I see it and think, yeah, love the Meewasin. I immediately know where I am and what to expect. Exceptional nature trails, wildlife, beauty, river access. But I couldn't shake the gnawing feeling that there was more to this story. And I want to discover what that is. So that's what I set out to do. Find out how the Meewasin logo has continued to thrive after over 45 years in use. And in the process of uncovering the people behind it and the keys to its longevity, I want to celebrate this logo, a logo I've grown extremely fond of, and give it the spotlight it deserves. Saskatoon, 1970. Conditions in the South Saskatchewan River Valley were drastically different than they are today. No major protections existed. Illegal dumping of construction debris and garbage was rampant. Uncontrolled pollution and waste was entering the river. Nature areas like Cranberry Flats were in danger of irreversible damage from overuse. There was also a renewed push from private developers to build residential property along the pristine riverbank, threatening public accessibility. To say the least, the long-term preservation of the river valley was in question, and people took notice. Throughout the early 70s, many local interest groups, members of the city, and private citizens like environmental activist Joanna Miller felt the urgency needed for long-range planning and appropriate control of the land along the river. In 1974, Saskatoon City Council received approval from the provincial and federal government to support and fund an initial study of the riverbank's potential. In 1976, the study, Towards a River Edge Authority, was published. Its main recommendation? The establishment of an autonomous agency to plan and develop the valley's natural and heritage resources. Despite universal agreement with the study from all stakeholders and strong public support, the provincial government shelved the plan. Over the next 18 months, Joe Saundershausen, chairman of the Riverbank Committee for the Saskatoon Environmental Society, led the charge in intensifying pressure on the government to take decisive action. An impassioned collection of local groups joined forces with the SES for this final push, and together they successfully forced the government to act. And finally, in late 1977, a committee was formed to put in place an authority dedicated to preserving the natural resources of the river valley. Their first task? Select a master planner. The Halfway House at George Crothers Golf Course, 1958. The Edwards Gardens Pavilion, 1963. These are a few of the early projects from the young Toronto-based architect, Raymond Moryama. Later in 1963, Moryama would complete his first major work, the Japanese-Canadian Cultural Centre in Toronto. The design of the building was carefully planned to support and honor the place of Japanese Canadians in Canada. Moryama believed that architecture was not a statement of one's ego, but rather it had to express democracy, equality, inclusion of all people, and social justice. If not, he said, then architecture is a hollow sham. In 1964, Moryama's firm was commissioned to design the Ontario Science Centre. Inspired by Confucian philosophy, Moryama designed the center to be a place where hands-on experience would be the focus and become fundamental to how people learn. It was among the first museums in the world to adopt this new approach and is now the norm everywhere. This philosophical approach to architecture and planning would guide Moryama in all his work. Newly partnered with Ted Tashima in 1970, the Moryama Tashima firm expanded their influence to more groundbreaking work. The Scarborough Civic Centre, completed in 1973. Its circular layout put public space at the center of the complex, a symbolic nod to the idea of citizenry as the heart of democracy. The Toronto Reference Library, completed in 1977, a masterwork. Its monumental yet inviting 5-story atrium, filled with plants and water features, provided the perfect backdrop for research, study, and play. It immediately became a mecca for the Toronto public. Moryama's work in the 1960s and 70s garnered the attention of many, including the newly formed River Project Committee in Saskatoon. After a Canada-wide search, Raymond Moryama was officially commissioned to conduct a 100-year conceptual plan for the proposed River Valley Agency. He was given just 5 months to complete the master plan. Let's start the logo celebration. I'm going to show you all my favorite uses of the Meewasin logo throughout the valley. I've sorted these into categories. Here we go. Conservation area signs. I love a wood sign. The white outline here really makes the icon stand out. But wait until you see the Beaver Creek version. This sign is a thing of beauty, sturdy as they come. Look how thick the slab is. Now for the logo. Wow. It's actually carved out. Incredible attention to detail. It literally pops off the sign. You can't miss it off the highway. Beaver Creek has some really subtle uses of the logo sprinkled throughout the conservation area. Big fan. Moving on, we're going small. Memorial plaques. These beautiful dedications are a staple on benches throughout the valley. It's always a delight to read the thoughtful messages. Importantly here, look how well the logo works at this tiny size. Remarkable. Don't forget to stop and read one next time you're out on the trails. Next up, metal cutouts. Another material that lends itself well to our river current icon. Many of the latest Meewasin amenities feature cool metalwork. For instance, picnic tables, with this really subtle use of the icon. I like the new information signs, which have the logo fully cut out. This leads up to the absolute jewel of this category, Meewasin garbage bins. Look at that icon. Thick, rusted metal. The shadow dancing in the daylight is the cherry on top for me. The next category is carved in stone. For those observant visitors of the Meewasin Valley, you'll find these river stewardship dedication stones sprinkled all throughout the trails. I like that these often get filled with sand or debris, but if you look close enough, you'll see our resilient symbol. Add stone to the list, materials that the logo looks good carved into. And finally, finishing off the first part of the logo celebration is a personal favorite of mine, the Kinsman Fishing Platform post. What can I say? I love this post. The off-white post and brown version of the logo is a beautiful combination. The blue line demarcating the top of the sign is a lovely touch. The logo is also on all 4 sides. Doesn't matter which way you're coming from, you get a great look at it. Yes, it's a little beaten up, a little scuffed, but there is just something about this post. What a beauty. Okay, stepping back for a minute, after all this logo minutia, you may be thinking, is it really that special? All this for 2 squiggly lines? Yes, all this. And it's exactly that simplicity that makes the logo so incredible. Super small, looks great. Rusted, cool. Faded, colored on, filled with debris, looks even better. We're at a place in the logo's history where it has seemingly infiltrated all areas of the Meewasin Valley. To understand how that happened, let's continue our look back at its genesis. The urgency of a 5-month deadline loomed large for Raymond Moryama and his team. What followed was a period of accelerated and inspired activity. Moryama's planning team began surveying the valley from the air, by car, and on foot. Participating as a local guide for Moryama's team, Joe Saundershausen of the SES insisted they also needed to survey the river by canoe to truly understand the valley. Joe led the team on 3 extremely formative and mind-opening canoe excursions covering both the north and south ends of the river. The result is a 100-year conceptual plan that is as much a poetic meditation on life in the river valley as it is a technical development guide. Its scope is staggering. To set the stage for the formation of the current river valley, Moryama recaps 600 million years of evolutionary time all the way up to 8,000 years ago, the date its current topography is traced back to. The plan is incredibly practical, with in-depth breakdowns of locations within the valley and forward-thinking plans for development and conservation. It's also reflective. Moryama took this daunting task to heart. Here's Moryama. We intend to include our personal reactions and involvements, since what we are proposing is a concept of enriching life and human values in a world too long dependent on cold facts and statistics alone. Moryama's beautiful perspective on humanity is present in the plan while he grapples with how to involve what he calls abstract human perceptions. He writes about a time link, connecting and carrying the past and present creatively forward into the future, a spiritual link, the relationship of people to nature, of people to people. For our purposes, a key section of the plan is the recommendation to adopt the Meewasin name. A list of possible Indigenous names for the project were presented to Moryama. During a committee meeting on June 16, 1978, Moryama said he still favors the use of the word Meewasin because of its pleasant phonetics and its possibilities regarding a logo and abbreviation. Moryama's insistence on considering phonetics, abbreviations, and logo possibilities at the naming stage is a critical moment for the story of our mysterious symbol. He understood the importance of getting the name right for the future identity of the project. It's a wonderful name and one that Moryama strongly advocated for, even as some stakeholders questioned whether an Indigenous name should be used at all for the project. This list of names provided, how did Meewasin end up on it? To fully understand the significance of that, we need to go back to 1975. Chairman of the Saskatoon Parks Naming Committee, Cliff Riley, was gathering name ideas for a new park to be developed along Spadina Crescent. For help selecting a possible name of Cree origin, Riley interviewed members of local Indigenous organizations, which included the Saskatchewan Indigenous Cultural Centre. One meeting was with Elder Smith Adamoyo of Little Pine First Nation. Adamoyo was one of the founding directors of the Cultural Centre in 1970, where he started conducting workshops with Indigenous elders from across the province. He believed serious efforts needed to be made to preserve and revive the customs, knowledge, and wisdom of the elders before they were lost. All stories from the workshops were recorded, translated into English, and written out for preservation. Adamoyo's work as coordinator of the Elders Program placed him at the forefront of the movement to revitalize Indigenous spirituality in Saskatchewan. His groundbreaking work with the Cultural Centre led him to become highly regarded as a Cree linguist and storyteller. The 1975 meeting between Riley and Adamoyo would turn out to be momentous. Riley left with a page of handwritten notes from Adamoyo listing possible Cree names to consider. Mochikun, the fun park, and Meonakwan, beautiful view, were two of the options given. Also, at the head of the page of notes was the name Meewasin. Adamoyo noted that Meewasin Park would mean good park, also nice or beautiful park. Based on Adamoyo's recommendation, Riley selected the Meewasin name for the new Spadina Park. When announced, the name was associated with the meaning nice meeting place. As we know, Meewasin was ultimately adopted by the new River Valley Agency. Meewasin Park would become its first major project. Meewasin is now primarily known to mean simply, it is beautiful. Vancouver, BC, 1942. Tensions were rising in Canada as World War II continued to escalate. For Japanese Canadians, the recent bombing of Pearl Harbor had cast them out as enemy aliens. A 12-year-old Raymond Moryama watched the RCMP take his father away to a POW camp in Ontario. Soon after, Raymond, along with his mother and two sisters, were sent to an internment camp in Slocum City, BC, becoming prisoners of war in their own country. To escape the suffering of the camp, Moryama would sneak away to bathe in the nearby river. Mounties patrolled the area, so to keep watch, Moryama scavenged materials and designed his first building, a secret treehouse. Moryama remembers sitting on his perch, looking out over the Rockies, and wondering how Canada could have such wonderful nature and such ugly people. The treehouse became his place of solitude and peace, a place where he developed a new understanding of himself, of nature, and the fragility of democracy. When the war ended, his family reunited and moved to Hamilton, but Moryama was forever changed from the experience. Reflecting on his traumatic childhood, Moryama thought, well, maybe I could do something quite positive. Maybe, as an architect, I might be able to contribute. You fight back and try and improve it. Your country, your community. Completing the 100-year master plan for the Meewasin Valley Authority was not an ordinary process for Moryama. He notes, "It became increasingly clear that we are engaged in one of the most demanding and fulfilling projects ever to pass through our office." Moryama concludes the 100-year plan with his recommendations, including the acceptance of the natural system as a base for planning, to protect the natural and heritage resources of the valley, advancement of cultural arts, recreational activities, research, and education, and adoption of the overall theme of linkage between people to people, city and rural areas, between past, present, and future, all linked together with the river as the spine. The plan was enthusiastically endorsed by all participating parties. On May 4, 1979, the Meewasin Valley Authority was created by an act passed unanimously by the Saskatchewan legislature.
A logo should have some other meaning. That's where you get longevity. Otherwise, if you could pick something that's temporary, it disappears fairly quickly.
September 5th, 1979, 9 a.m., the first official meeting of the Meewasin Valley Authority. Buried in the board minutes, we find item 13, selection of a logo. The executive director was instructed to draft options and recommendations for the most appropriate means of obtaining a logo. Earlier in that very meeting, Wes Bolstad was appointed the first executive director of the MVA. For our purposes, this task, obtaining a logo for the MVA, feels like Captain Quint being hired to hunt down the man-eating shark in Jaws. But for Wes, this would quickly become secondary to much more urgent issues. After an enthusiastic start to the agency, the board of directors led by Chair Peggy McKercher and newly appointed Executive Director Bolstad faced heavy backlash from the proposed mandates. The RM of Corman Park, one of the 4 participating stakeholders in the MVA, started a protest against the perceived powers and boundaries of the organization, as outlined in the 100-year plan.
We're quite happy in this Meewasin Valley, which used to be called the Moon Lake Valley down here.
Also during this period, there was a boycott over the 100-year plan's inclusion in school libraries by some parents. It was deemed pro-Meewasin propaganda, despite containing beneficial historical and geographic information.
The emotion became so great that there was just nothing we could do at that point except change the boundaries and reduce the powers.
I move the voters of Corman Park is opposed to the Meewasin Valley Authority.
The RM of Corman Park ultimately withdrew completely from the MVA a year later, significantly reducing the boundaries of the conservation zone. Lastly, in November of 1979, the MVA displayed its first real act of power by denying a 24-story high-rise from being built along the river. This resulted in a lawsuit filed by the investment firm behind the complex, claiming the MVA Act was unconstitutional.
We didn't anticipate the controversy. We really didn't know what our mandate was or how we were going to implement it.
Upon reflection of this period, Wes said, "It was easily the toughest time of my life, and I really needed my experience in the other fields just to survive." That experience is noteworthy. In the decades before accepting his role with the MVA, Wes earned his master's in public administration from Harvard University and returned to Saskatchewan to work for Premier Tommy Douglas. In the early 1960s, Wes worked with Premier Douglas and later Premier Woodrow Lloyd while they fought for universal medical care in the province. Wes had a ringside seat to the Medicare crisis, an eventual historic solution. How did that compare to his first year at the MVA?
If possible, I think it was even more emotional than Medicare for the relatively few people who are involved.
While dealing with all of this, amongst the turmoil, Wes still had one job to do: find a logo. July 4th, 1980, 10 months after receiving the task of finding a logo. Page 2, Item E, Logo. A number of sample logos were made available for inspection at the meeting. Mr. Bolstad stated that he hopes to be able to make a specific recommendation to the board at its next meeting. July 18th, 1980, Page 4, Item C, Logo. Mr. V. Sotropa for the Visual Identity Office, Government of Saskatchewan, attended the meeting for the discussion of this item. This is the first mention of anyone else involved with the logo decision, a Mr. V. Sotropa. A memorandum from the executive director to the board regarding this matter and a sample of the recommended logo were distributed at the meeting. The memorandum. Selection of a logo. Paragraph 3. I've relied heavily on the advice from Vic Sotropa, the second mention of Mr. Vic Sotropa, who is in charge of the province's Visual Identity Office and who will provide assistance to us in designing a total MVA identity program. Vic Sotropa. There are many more uses of the Meewasin logo that I'd like to celebrate. So let's jump back in with a real heavyweight I refer to as rusted steel trail map signs. These hardy slabs of steel are a sturdy presence throughout the trail system in Saskatoon. On closer inspection, the logo's adaptability is on full display. Tone on tone, or rust on rust maybe, it still pops out at you. If one of these signs is in your sights, you are in the right place. You know, the big ones give off a little Space Odyssey monolith energy. Have these been here since before us? I've collected this next set into the category Markings on the Pavement. A fairly recent addition to the collection and an immediate classic is the slow marking. What a joy this is to pass over. No notes. And for the original trailblazer of the category, I present the 1 kilometer markers, a metal logo baked in stone. I really appreciate the terrazzo-styled slab of concrete it sits in. Outrageously good. Just imagine how many folks have stepped on these throughout the decades. Perhaps without notice. From the ground to the open landscape, let's look at information signs. Often found in beautiful locations, these signs are always worth the stop and read. A much more standard use of the logo to be sure, but for us plaque readers out there, these signs are deeply appreciated. Moving back to wood territory, we have the logo carved into benches. A true classic here. I love how the logo weathers along with the bench. This more rugged bench design shows the logo in a more rudimentary form, which works just as well. As we near the end of this admittedly slightly obsessive look at the logo, it's time to highlight one of the greats, the Meewasin headquarters signage. For me, a significant part of the appeal is due to the stunning brick building surrounded by trees and neatly nestled into the riverbank. The perfect fit for Meewasin. The blue and green color scheme just may be the definitive version of the logo, and the added detail of the backlighting here elevates it even more. We have arrived at the grand finale, an absolute gold standard use of the Meewasin logo. Brass plaque on concrete grille. Subtle, yet incredibly refined. Neatly flush mounted in the concrete, slightly raised icon, and beautifully weathered brass all combine for a stunning piece of design. And if you're lucky enough to catch it, when the sun hits it just right, it glows like gold. This is so easy to miss if you're not looking for it, but any closer inspection is rewarded. These grills were introduced in the mid-80s, so the plaque has really been through it all. It's also quite rare. Many of these grills are missing the plaque entirely or have been replaced with a concrete cutout. I have found 3 other plaques like this. 2 now have screws added, I assume to prevent removal, perhaps from freaks like myself. and one other original, unaltered plaque located in Victoria Park. All of them are stunning, but the Kiwanis Memorial Park version here remains my favorite. In my opinion, a significant reason this logo is undeniable is that it works on everything: steel, wood, concrete, stone, brass. Our river current icon has had a remarkable run. It is currently 7 a.m. on Saturday, September 2nd. I'm about to leave to Regina, and looking back to when I started this project, trying to figure out how the Meewasin logo has stood the test of time, I really didn't think I'd get this close to meeting the person who designed it. A little surreal, honestly. All right, I'm outside the building. Now I'm gonna text them and see how it goes. Okay, well thanks Vic. I appreciate you doing this. It's an honor to meet you. I'm just gonna throw these on.
You're welcome. Wes called me up one day to say, we need to design a logo and bring all these chiefs together. And so we got together and got up designing a single logo, and then there was a lot of politics in that internally.
Remember, Wes was managing serious issues during this time. Let's see what he had to say about it. The process of searching for and coming up with a proposal for a logo has been excruciatingly long and difficult.
There was a bit of a battle between the chiefs, which symbol they represented.
The challenge for Wes and Vic was to come up with a design that would represent each of the First Nation chiefs involved while also establishing an identity for Meewasin. Vic's response was abstraction.
I was into abstract as a person and looking at things, dissecting things. At that period of time, there wasn't any abstraction in anything.
Throughout the 40s, 50s, and 60s, logos in Saskatchewan were almost always based in realism. These logos are undoubtedly beautiful, but it was a distinct style that designers were moving away from at the national level in Canada.
I was at the level where everything was changing from realism to some, quote, abstractism or whatever.
In 1967, Stuart Ashe designed the logo for Canada's Centennial, a standout example of national design from the Modernist design boom of the 1960s, shown here in stark contrast to design in Saskatchewan.
But in a design, you're trying to, at least I used to always try and have, there had to be a reference. The logo was abstract, it had to have meaning side, and that's a pretty hard sell.
Another example of what Vic was up against was the Saskatchewan flag. Adopted in 1969, it features a naturalistic prairie lily. No deeper meaning here.
You want a logo to have more than what you see.
But Vic wasn't convinced people were ready for that.
At that time, people wouldn't connect. A little wave going by, that would do it.
Back to Wes's memo. Conclusion. People's preferences for logos, like people's preferences for art, are so subjective and varied that it is next to impossible to reach a consensus. Thankfully for Vic, he had experienced bringing modernist design into government bureaucracy before. In 1975, Premier Alan Blakeney, along with his cabinet, identified the need to upgrade the quality of the government's visual communication. A proliferation of various symbols and identification marks were currently being used across government departments.
We used to have 250 logos flying in government, so that's scattered. That doesn't give you any power, no bringing together of people.
Unification with a single logo was desperately needed. As head of the government's Visual Identity Office, the task was handed to Vic. He was instructed to
make it simple, very simple. That sounds like it should be abstract. In my mind at the time, the wheat sheaf, if it was realistic, photographic.
Since the early 1900s, many versions of a wheat sheaf were used for logos across the province, always represented realistically.
A lot of realism was used almost exclusively by everything. You had to see it as it is. Every person would say, oh, that's a flower, or that's a wheat, that kind of simplicity. So you try to put more into it.
Vic used the wheat sheaf from the coat of arms as the foundation for the new symbol. This iconography had become easily recognizable as uniquely Saskatchewan. From there, he stylized it to express the modern vitality and growth of the province.
The public should have something in it for them to be proud of.
The modern, free-flowing design was meant to be suggestive of not just wheat or even agriculture, but of Saskatchewan's diversified outward growth and the faith of its people in the future. Vic's wheat sheaf became the official symbol of the government of Saskatchewan in 1977.
I think it was very good. It was saying contemporary. I thought it would have a lot of miles, but I also was very aware of politicians and how they change things.
In 2007, the newly elected Conservative government announced it would be replacing the logo.
Bring in a new power, an opposition, first thing they want to do is change that logo.
However, the wheat sheaf was so beloved in the province, public outcry from the announcement forced the Sask Party to reverse its decision and keep the logo. For a few more years anyway. 6 years later, in 2013, the wheat sheaf was officially replaced.
And when another party comes along that's different, we'll see some more different logos. And then or naturally is like saying Saskatchewan. Naturally, it's a nice connotation.
Did you have something to do with that phrase?
I thought it was cool.
You approved of Saskatchewan?
Or naturally.
Really?
Yeah.
I showed Vic what replaced his Saskatchewan Naturally signs.
That's what was changed to. Yeah. It was still out there recently, and I think somebody at night comes out with a hammer and do away with it. There was a battle between the lily and the wheat sheaf. My feeling was the lily is nature, and you could put it on highway signs.
Vic's prairie lily design was chosen to represent provincial parks across Saskatchewan.
We did a lot of drawing internally to bring that about, to simplify it.
Vic again embraced the power of abstract design for this logo, fighting against direction he was given to make it more realistic.
I was trying to make something go beyond that, have some togetherness even with the petals.
Vic's prairie lily logo became a beloved symbol across the province for decades. But it has now been replaced. The update feels completely unnecessary, a reversion back to the realism of the past. It's also quite personal for my generation. The gold and brown park signage and orange lily iconography is what we grew up with. It's sad to see the classic signs slowly disappear. To complicate things, the government introduced a second parks-related logo. This Sask Parks logo appears to be a callback to the original Department of Natural Resources logo, which I fully respect, but I would argue the added details don't bode well for clarity or simplicity, especially the insistence on tacking on the government logo. I asked Vic about legibility relating to the fine details of a logo.
That comes into play very much. A logo will disappear in a detail very quickly. We're living in today, really, in a massive change. People change, revolutions change, battles change. It's just change, period. So one should expect that maybe a logo or a flag or whatever it is, it's going to change.
And yet, one logo remains. Vic's experience leading up to the Meewasin project gave him the tools needed to create a long-lasting logo. So he knew an important part of this process would be to
get other people who are involved in what it's representing, that they have some ownership once you do that. The design was approved by the chief, so they went along with it because they saw something of themselves in that logo. It became water, it became the river, and all those things.
The design left space and openness, acting as an invitation for the First Nation chiefs to fill it with their own personal meaning, which is exactly what good design does.
At least that was my idea, that is what it should be. In my mind, if it has longevity, I want to score in terms of having something go forward.
Here's Wes on the final decision. I've also selected something I like, Bolstad's subjective preference, that something is water in the form of blue waves. Advantages of using this element in this form. Water symbolizes, or comes close to symbolizing, a river, the spine of our project. Waves, rather than still water, suggest action. The area under MVA's jurisdiction encompasses many activities and a good deal of action. Versatility. The waves can be used in many different ways. Longer series of waves rather than shorter, 2 or more sets of waves, different color combinations. The letters M and V can be discovered, if one wishes to do so. Simplicity and durability. A symbol that is simple and will last, and over time come to mean Meewasin, wherever people see it, on anything in the valley. After navigating through many obstacles in the organization's infancy, Wes went on to lead the MVA through an extraordinary 8 years as executive director.
I can hardly believe how it's turned around in 10 short years.
Wes oversaw the creation of Meewasin Park in the city's north end, nearly 290 acres of newly developed parkland. The first phase of Gabriel Dumont Park's transformation from a concrete landfill into a naturalized area with urban park was well underway. Significant enhancement and development of the Beaver Creek Conservation Area was completed, including the opening of the Interpretive Center in 1984. The land along the river behind the Mendel Art Gallery was reimagined with a lookout shelter and river edge walking path. Wes also played a highly supportive role in the early conception of Wanuskewin Heritage Park and was instrumental in building the framework that would lead to the eventual opening in 1992. But perhaps Wes's most significant contribution was the establishment of the Meewasin Trail System in 1982.
It helped to demonstrate that Meewasin could do something valuable for the community.
It's hard to imagine a time when this vital trail system didn't exist. Today, the trail runs over 105 kilometers throughout Saskatoon and accommodates over 2 million annual visits. While reflecting on his career with Meewasin, Wes said, "I've never had this sort of feeling of satisfaction for a job before. I know I can go down and sit on the bench and watch people enjoying themselves. That's a great feeling." The Meewasin Valley covers over 6,700 hectares in the Saskatoon region, making it one of the largest urban conservation zones in Canada. Okay, I just pulled over in the Wascana parking lot and I just need to debrief for a second. That was unbelievable. Halfway through the interview with Vic, I was like having an out-of-body experience for real. I couldn't believe that I just couldn't believe I actually was able to meet him and he was able to talk so eloquently about his design career and his work and his philosophy and his life. It was just an unbelievable experience. Honestly, something I'll never forget. I picked Goose Alley to do this interview. It's just so cool to hear him talk about it. It was just super cool. I'm stoked. I'm so happy. That was awesome. Old logos always worked. Therefore, that is what design should continue to look like today. This was my thinking that started this project. After listening to Vic speak on the powerful role politics and luck play in the life of a logo, I've adjusted my attitude. Good design alone does not guarantee relevance or longevity. It's unreasonable to expect old design trends to stay relevant in a rapidly changing world. On the other hand, take Vic's wheat sheaf logo. It is true the government no longer uses it for its identity. However, it is still found all over Saskatchewan. All provincial highway signs still prominently feature the wheat sheaf. 3, in fact. It's still printed on all newly issued health cards, and you'll find it in random places like on old building signage. Will it ever be truly gone? At the end of my time with Vic, I asked if he thinks about his design legacy.
They'll remember it by me, and I didn't ever concern myself with that. Not me, but what's in me. Yeah.
Not me, but what's in me. The perfect encapsulation of why I believe the Meewasin logo lives on. It's the deep humanity behind it. In other words, it's the collection of people involved that made it work. The local groups and Saskatoon citizens that fought to bring protection to the river valley. A visionary in Raymond Moryama whose empathetic worldview and personal philosophy breathed so much life into the master plan. The right leadership and direction seen from Wes Bolstad and the other like-minded board of directors. The Meewasin name, carefully chosen by Cliff Riley under the guidance of Elder Smith Adamoyo. Vic Sotropa in his decision to present an abstract design, allowing the identity of Meewasin to grow into it. All these forces coming together to create something bigger than any individual contribution. The continued progress of the Meewasin Valley is remarkable in a world where ideas are often transient, where movements are short-lived.
But some ideas, I guess, last for a long time. I'm Vic Sotropa from Regina. I've had a good career.
Awesome, thanks, Vic. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Congrats. Thanks, babe. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you for doing it.